say so. Rack it up, I got it.
So, it's the middle of winter, but the nights have started to get a little bit brighter. It's prime time for you to get cracking on your swing changes and make 2022 your year. Or, at least that's what you've told yourself every winter for as long as you can remember. Only problem is the swing changes you've been trying to implement never seem to stick, and before you know it, you're back to square one. Well, in this video, I'm going to outline a no bullshit approach to changing your swing the right way. And in the background, I'm going to leave running some footage from my last technical improvement practice session to try and illustrate a few points that I'm going to make. So get a pen, get some paper, get a cup of tea, and let's fucking go. I'm going to break this down into 3 sections. Pre-practice, practice itself, and then post-practice. So, pre-practice. So the first thing you need to do, find a golf coach. That sounds obvious, but constantly changing what you're working on based on comments from your mates or whatever YouTube video you've watched this week will get you nowhere. Find a golf coach that you like, trust, and feel comfortable around. You need to be able to ask them questions on why the change they're suggesting is necessary and how it will impact your shot pattern. PGA.info is a good place to start if you've got no idea about who can help with lessons. You just put in your postcode and it comes up with a list of professional golfers in your area that can help, as well as the facilities which they have access to. Alternatively, nowadays you can get world-class tuition online by sending videos of your swing to someone like Jonathan Yarwood, where you'll get back a video explanation of exactly what you need to do. There are no swing faults, only swing tendencies. It's not a fault that you leave the club face open at impact and hit a slice. It's something you tend to do as a compensation your body is making to try and find the target. If you try and change the outcome without addressing the root cause, then you're just putting a plaster over a burst pipe. By working with a good golf coach who can explain exactly what your tendencies are and work with you to try and fix the issues at the source, you will significantly reduce the amount of time it takes to improve. Step 2. It is linked with step 1, but it's important enough to warrant its own step. Understanding. You need to understand why you are making the change. Why is it necessary and what is the significance going to be to your game if you're able to implement this change and move in the way that your golf coach is suggesting. If you're not 100% sure exactly why changing your grip, posture, your takeaway, or whatever your coach is suggesting, then you're not going to be invested enough in it to stick with it when it's cold, when it's windy, and you're hitting it like shit. If you understand why the change is needed and how much it will improve you in the long term, you're far more likely to trust the process and to see it through to the end. Remember, if you don't understand exactly what the change is or why it's necessary, ask your golf coach. Ask them again and again. If you don't understand, it's because they've not explained it well enough, not because you're stupid. Step 3. Be realistic. You need to be realistic about how much change you will see in a short-term basis and exactly how much effort is required to make any significant progression with changing your swing. Depending on the severity of the change, as well as how much time you're willing or able to dedicate to improving your game, it might take years before you see the results you want. On the screen now, I'm going to put up 2 of my golf swings. These were taken 3 years apart on the same day. My own personal tendencies are halfway back, I get the club a little bit behind my body, and from there it gets across the line at the top. In an effort to fix this and generate power, I quickly pull it straight down and the shaft gets very steep. My body then knows I can't hit the ball from this position, so I jump up out of my posture in an effort to shallow the club and save it with my hands. This means if my timing's on, I can play well, but more often than not, especially with longer clubs in my hand, I have a 2-way miss. I hit roughly 500 balls per week, and I've been working on the same things for about 2 years. It's better than it was, but I would say hand on heart, I'm about 20% of the way to where I need to be. It takes years of work to become an overnight success. So that's the pre-aspect taken care of. To summarise, we've primed ourselves for putting in work by finding a golf coach that we trust and are comfortable around. We have not just blindly accepted the suggestions that they are making, we're asking questions to make sure we fully understand exactly why making these specific changes is necessary and how doing so will impact the rest of our swing. We're fully aware of how much effort is needed and we're being pragmatic in our approach. We know this change is not going to happen overnight, but we know this is a process that if we see through to the end, we'll get the results we want. So what's next? Go to the range and grind out 300 balls? No, absolutely not. I'm going to choose my words very carefully here. I fucking hate this massively overused phrase of grinding on a practice area. It's the sort of shit people plaster all over their social media to make it look like they're working harder than they really are. Improving your game and changing your swing is not about the amount of balls you hit. It's the amount of effort and intensity you put into each ball you hit. Trying to hit thousands of balls to make a change is just going to fry your brain. You will go into autopilot, you'll end up getting bored, you won't be challenged, and eventually you won't be learning or changing anything. To use an analogy from the Practice Manual, a brilliant book for anyone serious about improving their game, you need to think about making a change as building a motorway in your brain. When you start out trying to move in a new way, you're in a field. The more reps you get in the field, eventually it becomes a dirt track. Then it's a cobble path. Then it's a single track road, a double track road, until eventually you're bombing it at 70 miles an hour down a motorway. This is a process. It's a war of attrition, and it's not something that can be done in one range session by scraping and hitting 1,000 golf balls. Believe me, I found this out the hard way. A few years ago, I set myself a target of 5,000 balls moving my swing through a specific position that I was told by a golf coach would help me jumping out of my posture. In an effort to stop this, the feeling I was given was to try and feel like my bum stayed planted on a wall behind me. I hit 100 balls every day and I got to 5,000 balls and nothing had changed. As you now know, the reason I jump out of my posture is a result of movements within my backswing. So even if I had been able to stop this, I literally would have missed the ball. It was the exact scenario that prompted me to change golf coaches and start practicing in a more efficient way. I know it's counterintuitive, and as for me, I always feel like I'm not working hard enough, but trust me, learn from my mistakes. This is the real way to make a change. It's not done by hitting thousands of golf balls aimlessly. Step 5 is time. So I realise it's all well and good talking about what not to do, but what does this actually look like in a practical sense? What specifically do we do to effectively and efficiently practice and make a change? Well, during a typical winter range session, you head to the range, you get your 100 balls, and you start trying to make your swing changes. First off, instead of getting 100 balls, take 50 balls. But with these 50 balls, you're going to take your time to actually feel the movements you're trying to make. Rehearse the positions as part of your practice swings. If you were to take 2 practice swings for every 1 ball you hit, that's 150 times your body is going to be going through the movements, versus the 100 balls and a few dodgy practice swings in between that are half-hearted, where you're not really focused on anything. Break the 50 balls down into groups of 5. With each 5 balls, work on one specific change or movement. Do not try to do 2 things at once. This is a huge mistake that we all make. Trying to affect 2 or more movements at once is pointless. You will just end up half-arsing 2 things at 50%. You're much better placed with each of your 5 balls to set your focus absolutely and all your energy on one specific thing before moving on. For these 5 balls, all that matters is the one thing you're focusing on. It's the most important thing in the world at that moment. It deserves your absolute undivided attention. Once you've completed your 5 balls, move on to the next swing feel you're working on. Repeat this process until you've worked your way through your 50 balls. If you really focus and put all your effort in, you'll be surprised at how long this takes, as well as how tiring it actually is. If for some reason you only have one swing feeling that you're trying to make or you're working on, instead of using 5 balls, break your session down into 10-minute segments. 7 minutes of pure focus on this one move with rehearsals and shots. Then 3 minutes of something completely different. This might be hitting chip shots and pitches, working on hitting shapes and trajectory control. Doesn't really matter. The only rule is this has to be something completely different. Give yourself a break before moving back in. Step 6, success. You need to be acutely aware of exactly what is a successful practice session, or what is a successful shot for you. The aim of golf is to get the ball in the hole in as few shots as possible, plain and simple. Ultimately, nobody gives a fuck how well you hit it at the range. Trust me, I know. I flush it at the range and it's absolutely meaningless. You're not at the range to hit it nicely and impress anyone. No one cares anyway. The only rule here is your success can only ever be focused on the position of one thing. If you're focusing on the position of your hands at the top of your backswing, your success on that shot is solely down to how well you felt that position. Or if you're videoing it, it might be down to how the position felt versus where exactly it was. One position only. So if you're focused on your hand position, you're not allowed to be focused on the position of the golf ball. It doesn't matter if it's hurtling down the range in the form of a shank. Chances are, if you're hitting it well, you haven't implemented a significant change, as your body would struggle to produce a good shot whilst navigating new uncharted territory on its way back to the golf ball anyway. During a technical change session, it doesn't matter where the golf ball goes. Too often, when your success is focused on the ball heading down the range, you'll be tempted to react to the shot emotionally. This could be in a positive or a negative way. The result in both cases tends to be the same. You'll immediately scrape a ball over and hit it again too quickly. Here's a pro tip. There's a variety of ways to stop this from happening. If you're working with your 5-ball sets, you can leave the basket of balls some distance from where you are. This forces you to walk over and grab some more. Hopefully during this walk, you cool off and remember what you're working on. What I like to personally do is take my 5 balls out for the set, and then I put a club or an alignment rod between the balls and the hitting area. This makes it a bit of a faff to move the ball over, and for me, it acts as a trigger to remind me I need to take my time between shots. I try to make it so that I'm not allowed to drag a ball over that line until I've made my committed rehearsals. Step 7. Exaggeration, speed, and partial moves. It's a cliche because it's true. Feel and real are two very different things in the golf swing. You might feel like you're taking the club a million miles outside the line on the backswing, and in reality, you've barely moved it from where it was. As a technique, using exaggerated moves can really help to ingrain a different position, with the theory being, if you feel the extreme version of a move over time, your natural tendency will gravitate more towards that position. This can be helped by varying speeds of swings. Combining exaggerated moves with a really slow swing speed at which you move through the positions can really help this. The same can be said for using partial movements. Pausing and putting yourself in the correct position, then moving on to hit the ball from there can really help you register what this new position feels like and can allow your body to understand exactly how it can find the ball from there. So to summarise, during a technical session, opt for less balls with more intensity and focus on each shot. Break the balls down into sets of 5, with each set being used to work on one specific thing. Focus entirely on one move per set. Give it your maximum attention. Between shots, use practice swings and partial rehearsals to feel the change you want to make. Have no interest in where the ball goes during these sessions. Your success can be focused on one position only, not the ball. Place the balls away from you or use a club between the balls and hitting area to stop you reacting to a shot and grabbing a new ball to hit it again. Use exaggerated moves, slow speeds and partial swings to enhance feelings of the new position. Post-practice. This is arguably one of the most important parts of making a swing change, and it's certainly a part that most people will neglect. Following a practice session, taking some time to reflect or note down feels that worked well for you or changes in focus that resonated better with you. For example, if you're working on shifting your weight in your backswing better, you might have felt on this occasion that the zipper of your trousers or your belt buckle moved more to the right on your backswing. That might have felt really good and repeatable. The worst thing you could do would be to just forget about that feeling, and in your next session, you're starting from scratch again. If you note down these feels, it can help you improve quicker and pick up where you left off, as well as giving you something to discuss with your golf coach to make sure that you really are understanding what exactly they are looking for. I would also advise picking up with your golf coach between lessons and keeping them updated with videos to ensure you stay on the right path. This is obviously dependent on the coach you work with, but provided you follow the first few steps and you found a coach that you like, get on with and trust, I'm sure they won't mind the occasional video update or question. That is, as I see it, the ways to effectively implement a swing change. Get down into the comments and let me know what swing changes you're making this winter and why. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up, share the video with people you think will like it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. We need to grow this cult. Peace out, see you all in the next video.